Welcome to the Kindness Extremist Podcast. I'm your host, Shola Richards, aka Brother Teresa. I've spoken to tens of thousands of people all over the world about the importance of kindness. And I am obsessed with how we can bring more kindness into our daily lives and restore balance to a deeply unbalanced world. Every episode, I'll give you 3 practical strategies to create a kinder world, and I'll do it in 30 minutes or less. No fluff, just valuable, actionable content that you can implement in your life immediately after listening to help you actively create a kinder world. There's no time to waste. Let's dive in. Welcome back, my friend. It's an honor that you're here for episode 18 of the Kindness Extremist Podcast. Today, we're diving into something that most people have never heard of, but this force is affecting every single aspect of our lives right now. I'm talking about entropy, which, if you're a fellow nerd like me, you know this based on the second law of thermodynamics. My buddy Austin suggested that this episode should be titled Thermodynamics Enters the Chat. But if I named it that, then that would probably guarantee that only Austin, my mom, and maybe my wife would listen to this episode. I have good news, though. This is not going to be a boring physics lesson, I promise. This is about understanding the invisible force that's slowly destroying our relationships, our workplace culture, our health, and quite frankly, our entire society. Here's what I want you to imagine. Imagine you take a deck of perfectly ordered playing cards and dump them on the ground. What happens? Instant disorder, right? Now, if you leave those cards alone, what are the chances that they'll magically reorganize themselves back into the perfect order? Right? Exactly 0. That's entropy in action, the natural tendency of all things to move from order to disorder. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Entropy is affecting everything you care about right now. Your relationships, without intentional effort, they drift towards dysfunction. Your workplace culture, it naturally slides towards toxicity. Your physical health, it gradually deteriorates. And yes, our social discourse, it inevitably devolves into incivility, disrespect, unkindness, and even personal attacks that we see everywhere today. Still though, I bring glad tidings, and this is why I'm so giddy about today's episode. While we can't stop entropy, we can absolutely manage it. And I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that using what I call the ICI framework: intentional, consistent interventions. In today's episode, I'll give you 3 practical strategies to fight back against entropy and reclaim order in the areas that matter most. First, we'll explore the power of intention and how to deliberately decide what deserves your energy. Next, we'll tackle consistency, why small daily actions beat massive sporadic efforts every time. And finally, we'll master intervention, how to actively interfere with undesirable outcomes before they take root in our lives. So, whether you're watching your workplace culture deteriorate, feeling your relationships drift apart, or wondering why everything feels like it's going to hell as you're listening to my words right now, this episode will give you the tools to strategically fight back against one of the most powerful forces on earth. Ready to gauge the fight of our lives? My friend, buckle up. Let's begin. For our first strategy, let's talk about intention, the foundation of fighting entropy. Here's what most people don't understand about entropy. It's completely democratic. It affects everything equally: your marriage, your friendships, your workplace culture, your physical health, your mental sharpness. Entropy is slowly pushing all of it towards disorder right now, whether you're paying attention or not. But here's the reality check. You don't have infinite energy. You can't fight entropy on every front simultaneously. That's why intention is so critical. You must deliberately decide what matters most and focus your energy there. Let me share with you a story that illustrates this point perfectly. A few years ago, I was talking to a woman named Tasha who was completely overwhelmed. She was trying to fix her toxic workplace culture, repair her strained marriage, get her finances in order, improve her health, and maintain her friendships all at the same time. Obviously, she was exhausted, frustrated, and making 0 progress anywhere. Sound familiar? I asked her a simple question. If you could only focus on one area for the next 3 months, which one would have the biggest positive impact on your life? After thinking about it, she said, her marriage. Everything else felt manageable if that relationship was strong, but nothing else mattered if that foundation crumbled. So she made a life-altering decision. For 90 days, she would intentionally focus her entropy-fighting energy on that one relationship. She stopped trying to single-handedly transform her workplace culture. She put her ambitious fitness goals on hold for a minute. She said no to social commitments that drained her energy. Instead, she had intentional conversations with her husband. She planned date nights. She put down her phone during dinner. She actively listened when he shared his day. Small, deliberate actions focused on one area. 3 months later, her marriage was stronger than it had been in years. And here's the beautiful part. When that foundation was solid, she had more energy and confidence to tackle the other areas where entropy was winning. This is the power of intention. You're not ignoring the other areas. You're being strategic about where you deploy your limited energy. So let's get practical. Think about your life right now, like today, as you're listening to my voice. Where is entropy winning? Your closest relationships, your workplace culture, your physical health, your mental well-being, your financial situation? Here's your first action step. Pick one, just one. Don't try to be a hero and fight entropy on every front because you're guaranteed to lose that battle in spectacular fashion. Choose the area where progress would have the biggest positive ripple effect on everything else. Maybe it's your relationship with your spouse or your kids. Maybe it's a toxic dynamic with a specific colleague at work. Maybe it's your own mental health that's been sliding towards disorder. Whatever you choose, write it down. This is your entropy battlefield for the next 90 days. Everything else is secondary. Remember, entropy never sleeps, but neither does your ability to fight back. The key is being intentional about where you focus that fight. Next, let's discuss the importance of consistency when choosing to step into the ring with entropy. Now let's talk about the second part of fighting entropy, consistency. Here's where most people get it wrong. They think fighting entropy requires massive, dramatic efforts. They believe that they need to have a 4-hour deep conversation to fix their marriage, or completely overhaul their workplace culture in one team meeting, or transform their health with an extreme fitness regimen. But that's not how entropy works, and it's not how you beat it. Entropy is relentless and constant. It's working against you 24/7, creating tiny amounts of disorder every single day, which is why your response needs to be relentless and constant too. Let me give you a perfect example from my own life. My relationship with my lovely wife, Amber, requires constant attention to fight off entropy. Not dramatic gestures, just consistent small ones. Every morning, I make sure that the water for her tea is ready for her before she goes to work. Every evening, I ask her about her day and actually listen to the answer. Every week, I make sure that her clothes are washed, folded, and hung up for her so she doesn't need to worry about that after an exhausting work week. Every month, we have a date night where phones are put away, we focus on each other, and have a deeper conversation about our goals, hopes, and dreams. None of these actions are earth-shattering, but collectively, consistently applied over time, they create a force field against entropy that keeps our relationship strong. Here's what I see people do instead. They ignore their relationship for months, letting entropy slowly create distance and disconnection. Then they panic and they try to fix everything with one grand romantic gesture, an expensive vacation, a surprise party, a declaration of love that's dramatic and over the top. And it doesn't work because you can't fight off months of entropy with one weekend of effort. Think of it this way. If you neglected brushing your teeth for 6 months and your teeth started decaying and your breath smelled like you've been dining on roadkill for weeks, do you think that a marathon 2-hour teeth brushing session will fix that issue? Probably not. The same principle applies everywhere. Want to fight entropy in your workplace culture? Don't wait for the annual team retreat to address toxic behavior. Have small, consistent conversations about respect and kindness every single week. Want to fight entropy in your physical health? Don't wait till January 1st to start an extreme diet and exercise regimen that you're going to quit by February. Take a 15-minute walk every day and eat one healthy meal on a daily basis. Want to fight entropy in your mental health? Don't wait until you're in crisis to seek help. Practice small daily habits like gratitude journaling, meditation, or calling a friend. Here's the scientific truth. Consistency beats intensity every single time when it comes to fighting entropy. A small action repeated daily will always outperform a massive action attempted once. Let me give you a framework that I call the 2% rule. Instead of trying to dramatically transform whatever area you chose in part 1 of this episode to work on, commit to improving it just by 2% every single day. If you chose your marriage, that might mean one 10-minute conversation where you really listen. If you chose your workplace culture, that might mean one genuine compliment to a colleague. If you chose your health, that might mean drinking one extra glass of water a day. 2% doesn't sound like much, but here's the math. If you improve something by 2% every day for a year, you'll end up nearly 15 times better than when you started. The compound effect of consistency is the secret weapon against entropy. Small actions repeated relentlessly create massive change over time. So here's your second action step. What's the smallest possible action that you could take every single day in the area that you chose? Make it so small that you'd be embarrassed not to do that thing. Then commit to that action for the next 90 days. Remember, entropy is playing the long game. If you're serious about living your best life, you're going to need to play the long game too. Hey, fellow kindness extremists, it's me, Shola. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, if you're mowing what I'm growing, if you're smelling what I'm stepping in. Okay, I'll stop. If you're enjoying what you're listening to so far, I would love it if you would take a moment to hit the subscribe button and leave a rating and a review. Those incredibly kind acts go so far in helping me to reach as many people as possible who will join the movement to actively create a kinder world. I appreciate you so much, my friend. Okay, let's get back to the episode. Now let's talk about the third and most crucial part of fighting entropy, intervention. This is where most people fail. They have good intentions, they're consistent with their efforts, but they're not actually intervening in the entropy process. They're just maintaining the status quo instead of actively creating positive change. Let me explain the difference with a story. I once worked with a guy, let's call him Mike, who was dealing with an increasingly toxic workplace culture. His team was becoming more cynical, more negative, more divided every single week. Classic entropy in action. Mike's initial approach is what I call passive resistance. He tries to stay positive himself, he avoided participating in the gossip, and he focused on his own work. All that was admirable, but it wasn't intervention. It was just damage control. Real intervention means actively disrupting the entropy process before it gains more momentum. So Mike and I developed what I call an intervention strategy. Instead of just avoiding negative conversations, he started redirecting them using a strategy that I mentioned in the previous episode, episode 17 of this podcast. When someone complained about a colleague, he'd say, "That sounds frustrating. Have you talked to them directly about it?" Instead of staying positive himself, he started actively recognizing and celebrating small wins from his teammates. Instead of just focusing on his own work, he started scheduling regular coffee chats with different team members to rebuild connections. Within 6 months, the entire dynamic had shifted. Not because Mike had superhuman powers, but because he was actively intervening in the entropy process instead of just trying to maintain his own corner of order. This is what true intervention looks like. Actively disrupting the slide towards disorder and intentionally creating moments of connection, understanding, and positive change. Here's how to apply this in your own chosen area. If you're fighting entropy in a relationship, intervention might mean scheduling a weekly check-in where you both share what's working and what needs attention. It might mean creating new traditions that strengthen your bond. It might mean addressing small issues before they become big problems. If you're fighting entropy in your workplace culture, intervention might mean starting a peer recognition program. It might mean organizing team lunches to rebuild connections. It might mean having courageous conversations about behaviors that are hurting the team dynamic. If you're fighting entropy in your personal health, intervention might mean meal prepping on Sundays to disrupt poor eating patterns. It might mean finding an accountability partner to disrupt the tendency to skip workouts. It might mean schedule regular checkups to catch problems early. The key is this: you're not just trying to slow down entropy, you're actively creating the opposite of entropy. You're creating order, connection, and positive momentum. So here's your third action step. Identify the entropic pattern that you want to disrupt in your chosen area. Is it poor communication, lack of connection, negative attitudes, unhealthy habits? Then design one specific intervention that you can implement this week to actively disrupt that pattern. Not just avoid it, mind you, actively counter it with positive action. Remember, similar to the supervillain Thanos from the Avengers, entropy is inevitable, but it's not invincible. With intention, consistency, and active intervention, you can not only slow the slide toward disorder, you can create positive momentum towards the life, relationships, and the world that you actually want. My friend, we've covered 3 essential strategies, aka my ICI framework for fighting the invisible force of entropy. First, intention. Deciding what deserves your energy. You can't fight entropy on every front simultaneously, so strategically choose the area where you would have the biggest positive impact on your life. Secondly, consistency. Small daily actions beat massive sporadic efforts every single time. Use the 2% rule to improve something just by 2% every day, because compound consistency always beats sporadic intensity when fighting entropy. And third, intervention, actively interfering with undesirable outcomes. Don't just try to slow entropy, actively create the opposite by disrupting negative patterns and intentionally building positive momentum. As we close, I want you to remember this truth. Entropy is working against everything you care about right now. Your relationships, your workplace, your health, your dreams, all of it is trending naturally towards disorder. But here's what entropy doesn't count on. You. It doesn't count on your intention to fight back strategically. It doesn't count on your consistency to apply daily small actions. And it definitely doesn't count on your willingness to actively intervene and create positive change. The playing cards that we threw on the ground will not reorganize themselves, but you can pick them up and put them back in order. And you can do it again tomorrow and the day after that. The question isn't whether entropy is real. It is. The question is whether you're going to let it win, or whether you're going to join the ranks of people who understand that creating order in a chaotic world is both possible and necessary. Your relationships don't have to deteriorate. Your workplace doesn't have to become toxic. Our social discourse doesn't have to devolve into hatred and division. But it's up to us. It's up to you. Choose your battlefield, show up consistently, intervene actively. The world needs more people willing to fight entropy with intention, consistency, and intervention. And I'm honored to be in this fight alongside you. This is your host, Shola Richards, aka Brother Teresa, and you now know that kindness can't be weak because you just experienced the strength of the Kindness Extremist Podcast. Until next time, my friend, the journey to a kinder world continues. Thank you for listening to the Kindness Extremist Podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I have one favor to ask you. If you could kindly hit the subscribe button, leave a rating and a review, not only would that be incredibly kind, but by doing so, you're actively playing a role in growing this movement and ideally getting us one step closer to creating a kinder world. I hope to see you next week for another episode of the Kindness Extremist Podcast. Bye for now.